Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're tackling a massive topic, the digital battlefield. We're going to look at everything, the bad guys, how they operate, the rules of the game, and of course, how we can all stay safe. All right, let's jump right in. So to kick things off, I want to share a number that might surprise you. And what's wild is that it has nothing to do with fancy hacking or complex code. It's about something much simpler. Every single week, just in U.S. airports, an average of 12,000 laptops are either lost or stolen. Think about that for a second. That's a huge amount of sensitive data just walking away, long before a hacker ever gets involved. And that really leads perfectly into this quote from Martin Fisher. He says, security isn't just some IT thing, It's a critical business capability. It has to be woven into the very culture of a company. And he's spot on. It really frames this whole idea perfectly. Our digital world is a battlefield. And the absolute first step in defending ourselves is to actually understand the landscape and what we're fighting for. All right, so let's zoom in on that battlefield itself, this modern, super connected world we all live in. It really is a double-edged sword. I mean, just think about your own life for a minute. Your banking, how you talk to your friends, your job, pretty much everything, right? It all happens on our phones, our laptops, our tablets. And while that's brought us incredible convenience and all these amazing opportunities, it's also created this huge new playground for crime. This explosion of technology has also created a really interesting split in society. You've got the digital natives, people who've never known a world without the internet, and then you have digital immigrants, folks who had to learn and adapt to all this new tech. And why does this matter? Well, it completely changes how people see and use technology, and crucially, how they understand the risks that come with it. Okay, so if it's a battlefield, who are the attackers? Let's meet the cast of characters, the folks who are out there exploiting this new digital world. Well, the thing is, there isn't just one type of attacker. The lineup of threat agents, as they're called, is incredibly broad. You've got everyone from amateur script kiddies, basically kids using tools they downloaded online, all the way to the other end of the spectrum. We're talking organized crime syndicates and even hostile governments, national intelligence agencies looking for an edge. And their motivations? Just as diverse. Yeah, a lot of it is for money, plain and simple, but for others, it could be revenge, or they're trying to make a political point. And then you've got the ones who do it just because they can, for the pure technical challenge of it all. So what are we actually seeing out there? What kind of attacks happen most often? Well, survey after survey of businesses shows the same things popping up at the top of the list. Number 1, malware infections. 2, those sneaky phishing messages trying to trick you. And 3, just like we talked about at the beginning, good old-fashioned physical theft or loss of a device. Those 3 are the big ones, time and time again. Now, one type of attack you hear about all the time is a DDoS attack, or distributed denial of service. And the analogy for this is perfect. Imagine a huge mob of people all trying to cram into a small shop at once. They're not real customers. They're just there to block the door. And because of them, no actual customers can get in. That's exactly what a DDoS attack does to a website or an online service. It floods it with so much junk traffic that nobody legit can use it. Okay, that's enough about the bad guys for a minute. The big question is, what do we do about it? How do we build our digital fortress to keep them out? Well, it all starts with a couple of core security principles. The first is need to know. It's simple. You should only be able to see the information you absolutely need to do your job, and nothing more. The second is least privilege. This means you should only have the bare minimum permissions to get your work done. It's all about one thing. If something goes wrong, if an account gets compromised, you're limiting the blast radius. Okay, now for one of the most powerful tools in our defensive arsenal, encryption. And a really cool way this works is through something called a hybrid system. Let me walk you through it. It starts with a public key. Think of this like an open padlock that you send to your friend. Anyone can see the padlock, but only you have the key that opens it. So your friend takes a secret message, we'll call it a session key, puts it in a box, and snaps your public padlock on it. Then they send the box back to you. Now, because you're the only one with the key to that padlock, you're the only one who can open the box and get the secret session key. And from that point on, you both use that secret key to talk privately. It's brilliant, right? You use a public open system to create a totally private channel. So, besides building strong walls, how do you spot an attack that's already happening? That's where intrusion detection systems come in. And they generally work in two ways. The first is signature-based. This is like having a security guard with a photo album of known criminals. If it sees a pattern that matches a known attack, it sounds the alarm. The other way is anomaly-based. This one is more like a guard who knows the building's routine inside and out. It learns what's normal and then raises a flag anytime something weird or out of the ordinary happens. But let's be real. Sometimes the attackers get through. The walls get breached. What then? This is where your absolute last line of defense comes into play. And it is so critical. Backups. Having a good, solid backup strategy is everything. And I'm talking about backups that are recent, kept somewhere safe, and, this is the part everyone forgets, backups that you have actually tested to make sure they work. When something like ransomware hits, that tested backup is literally the only thing that's going to save you. So we have the attackers, we have the defenses, but what about the rules? Every battlefield needs rules of engagement. For the digital world, that comes in the form of laws and regulations. And it's pretty interesting to see how they've developed over time. You know, people started thinking about cyber laws almost as soon as computers started talking to each other. You can really trace the whole story back to the 70s, when you had these early reports just starting to identify the potential problems. Then, as we moved into the 90s, you see real laws getting passed and the creation of the fundamental security protocols that basically hold the internet together today. A really great example of this is the UK's Computer Misuse Act from 1990. It was a huge deal because it was one of the first laws to get really specific about digital crimes. It basically said, okay, just getting into a system you're not supposed to be in, that's illegal. Using that access to do something else bad, also illegal. And changing or deleting data without permission, you guessed it, illegal. It really laid the groundwork for a lot of what came later. Lately, though, the focus has shifted a bit, more towards protecting our personal data. And the big one here, of course, is GDPR, the regulation out of the EU. It's a game changer because it gives individuals, people like you and me, real power. It gives us the right to see our data, the right to have it deleted, and it puts the responsibility squarely on companies to protect it, no matter where they are in the world. But here's the massive problem with all these laws. Jurisdiction. I mean, the internet is global, right? It doesn't care about national borders. So you can have a criminal sitting in one country, using a server in a second country, to attack someone in a third. How do you even begin to investigate that? It's a logistical nightmare for law enforcement. And that's what brings this entire conversation right back home, to you. Because in this huge global conflict, it's very often your personal data that's the prize. So what are they really after? Well, think about it. They're targeting the absolute building blocks of your life. Your bank details, your health records, your private messages, your school and work history, all the things that make you, you. And at the very core of this whole thing, what this battle is really about is protecting our right to privacy. There's that famous, simple definition, the right to be left alone. And that's what's at stake. It's about your right to decide who gets a window into your life, your data, and your identity. Which leads us to the big final question, right? In a world where the threats are changing all the time, can we ever achieve perfect security? Is that even a realistic goal, or are we just signed up for a permanent battle? And I think the answer is pretty clear. Security isn't some destination you arrive at. It's a process. It's a constant state of being vigilant, of adopting. And the fight to protect our digital lives, well, that's a fight that every single one of us is in, every single day.